Along with that original question over the dissolvement of a marriage contract, my ex tries to lord over me in that he, being the father and the head of the household, lawfully has the authority and final say, and that I, as the young son's mother, has no authority. He hasn't read Ephesians 5:25 and 6. Especially since I am the one moved out and I had full intentions of taking my son with me, but I felt intimidated and I didn't know if I could even support myself. One major reason I didn't leave years ago. It's been 9 months since I moved out, and I am needing to educate myself on what options I have as a mother in my son's life, and not to live in fear from threats of not being allowed to see my son and having to give account of everywhere he goes with me, not being allowed to take him on vacations or having him stay with me overnight. Is there a court of higher power that can enforce a custody visitation agreement? Absolutely. You can engage this guy in the county court. I mean, you can sue for custody. And a common law marriage, go look it up in Black's law, has equal footing to a legal marriage in Black's law. And the element of your specific state, like, it may be harder from an enforcement standpoint here in California, but it is still enforceable because you guys filed a contract and put it into the public. Even if it's not a legal contract, it would be construed as one with a suit within a child custody court. And there would be nothing he could do. You would just simply file a child custody arrangement and sue for, you could even potentially contact the court and say, look, this is what I have. I know you can't make recommendations. I know I'm not going to be going to file for divorce, but child custody is a whole nother element, which would also include determined by a local judge. So he can be whatever level of authority over you all you want, but the court would deem themselves as an authority over the child. Now, there are other questions I would have pertaining to the child and making sure that the child would stay private, but that's aside. There is local, just contact your local family court, walk in there, say you need to file for custody arrangements and child support. What do I do? And they're going to steer you in that direction. There's probably paralegals you can contact, a couple $100. There's free service paralegals. And they can actually help you with all of the paperwork that you submit into court. And then you have your friend serve him, and you're going to go to court. He's going to go to court. You're going to get 9 months back due child support because he's the income earner and he's held your child up. And you're going to probably end up with a joint legal, joint physical, more than likely. And you won't have to report to him where you're at, where you're going with the kids. He might fight you that you can't leave out of state. That might get awarded that if you're going to leave out of state, that you have to contact him and maybe get approval. Unfortunately, this is what the nastiness of having to do these types of things. And if it were me, I'd say this is my intention. I'm going to go for the kids. I want to know if this is going to stop and you're willing to do a private arrangement for support and, spousal support and give me joint legal and joint physical custody of these kids. And if he says no, move on, go for it. He will not win this. They frown upon those types of attitudes. They frown upon Christians in general. And anything that you have from him with these types of comments and, where you feel intimidated, you're not even allowed to have your kid overnight. he's giving you no support financially, and I don't know whether he has or hasn't, really are looked bad with the courts. And so you would probably end up with spousal support. If you had a common law marriage for 20 years, you probably end up with spousal support either way, but it would be called child support, in my opinion, because that's the jurisdiction in which you can bring through to the court. Yeah, he would have to pay, even if it's joint legal and joint physical. But you may get full physical and joint legal. It's really up to you, but there's a lot of help, a lot more than you think. And so stop relying on him. And this is unfortunate where we have to bring men or women into our relationships that we're trying to deal with in the private. So that goes to kind of the next thing for people in the future that are wanting a private agreement between them. It needs to be documented, not just a marriage covenant agreement, but much like a hey, this is what's going to happen if the marriage gets dissolved type agreement. And that way you're entering into a contract that would be fully enforceable at the time of dissolving or getting a bill of divorcement, which is the biblical term and terminology for a marriage that's not done legally.